let's try something. Imagine the entire global financial system as this one massive, interconnected digital fortress. It's holding trillions of dollars, it's processing billions of transactions every single day. Basically, it's the foundation of our entire modern economy. But here's the thing, this fortress is under a constant, evolving siege. And the battle to keep it safe? Well, it's one of the most critical challenges of our time. But here's the twist in the story. The biggest threats aren't always the battering rams at the gates. No, this is a modern-day Trojan horse, and it's not made of wood. It is crafted from code. Attackers are already inside the walls, using stealth, deception, and exploiting the very trust that the whole system is built on. Okay, let's talk about the stakes here. By 2025, the annual cost of cybercrime is projected to hit $10.5 trillion. To put that in perspective, that's more than the GDP of Japan and Germany combined. So understanding how this fortress is being attacked, and more importantly, how it's being defended, is more critical than ever. Let's break it down. So first things first, we need to get a handle on what exactly this fortress is protecting and why it has become the absolute #1 target for bad actors all over the world. And it's not just about the money, it's about the data, and it's about the trust that holds the entire thing together. What's powering all this is this huge shift to digital. I mean, this move away from physical cash is creating enormous opportunities and just a ton of value. But with every single new digital service, every new connection, the surface area for an attack just gets bigger and bigger, basically painting a giant glowing target right on the industry's back. All right, so let's talk about the most obvious attacks. These are the ones trying to just smash down the front door. We're talking brute force assaults designed to completely overwhelm defenses and just cause chaos by knocking the system offline. A favorite weapon for this kind of attack is the distributed denial of service, or what we call a DDoS attack. The easiest way to think about it is like a weaponized traffic jam. Attackers use this whole network of hijacked computers to just flood a bank's website with so much junked traffic that no legitimate customers can get through. And the speed at which these attacks are growing is, well, it's staggering. Just between 2022 and 2023, DDoS attacks aimed at financial services shot up by 154%. Now, this is not a slow creep. It's being fueled by this perfect storm of geopolitical hacktivism, groups launching attacks for political reasons, and the rise of these DDoS for hire services that make it super cheap and easy for pretty much anyone to launch an assault. And that question right there, that is absolutely crucial. Because you know what? As powerful as these external attacks are, the most fortified walls in the world don't mean a thing if someone on the inside simply opens the gate for the enemy. This is where the siege gets a lot more insidious. It stops being about brute force and shifts to the subtle exploitation of human psychology, of trust, and of simple, everyday mistakes. The enemy within can take a lot of different forms. It could be a disgruntled employee who's intentionally messing with dormant accounts for their own gain. But honestly, more often, it's a loyal, trusted staff member who just gets tricked. They might click on a really sophisticated phishing email, or maybe they're fooled by an AI-generated deepfake voice of their CEO asking for an urgent wire transfer. In the end, the method doesn't really matter. The result is the same. The attacker is now inside the walls. So here's the really critical takeaway. We can build the most advanced, most expensive technological defenses imaginable, but at the end of the day, a staggering 95% of breaches involve some kind of human element. That makes people both our first line of defense and our single biggest vulnerability. Okay, so we've talked about attacks on the gates and we've talked about threats from the people inside. But what if the problem is even deeper? What if there's a kind of rot in the very foundation of the fortress, the code and the cryptography that everything is built on? The first one is what's called a supply chain attack. This is basically like that Trojan horse being delivered by a trusted friend. Attackers inject malicious code into software from a third-party vendor that the bank trusts and relies on. The second is the looming threat of quantum computing, a future superweapon that could, in theory, just make the fortress walls dissolve. And this slide really puts that challenge into perspective. For decades, we have relied on these incredibly powerful digital locks, encryption standards like RSA and ECC, to protect everything. But quantum computers, they're a totally new kind of machine that could theoretically act like a master key, just opening those locks like they were nothing. And listen, this is not some far-off sci-fi problem for our kids to deal with. Adversaries are acting on this threat today. They're actively stealing and storing huge amounts of encrypted financial data, betting on this strategy called harvest now, decrypt later. The idea is they can't read the data today, but they're saving it all up for the day when quantum computers finally arrive and can crack it all wide open. So let's just recap for a second. You're facing attacks from the outside, you've got threats from the inside, and the very foundation of your security could crumble at any moment. So how in the world do you build a defense that can actually withstand all of that? Well, the answer isn't some single silver bullet piece of software. Defending this fortress requires a holistic, living blueprint that covers every single aspect of resilience, from predicting threats all the way to recovering after an attack. And industry standards, like the NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology, cybersecurity framework, they provide exactly this kind of strategic guide. What a framework like this does is create a continuous 360-degree cycle of security. It kicks off with governance and identifying your assets and your risks. Then you protect them. You detect any intrusions, you respond to incidents, and then you recover your operations. The key is that it's not a checklist you just complete one time. It is a constant process of adaptation and getting better. But actually doing all of this, especially preparing for those future threats like quantum computing, is incredibly challenging. Trying to upgrade the entire foundation of our digital world comes with some massive hurdles. And as you can see, the two biggest ones are the sheer cost of doing it and a severe shortage of skilled experts who actually know how to build and manage these next-generation systems. And all of this leaves us with the one critical question that is going to define the future of our financial security. We are in a constant arms race between the attackers and the defenders. So as we're building these blueprints for a more resilient fortress, the question remains, can we build it fast enough to stay ahead of the next unpredictable, game-changing threat? The security of our entire digital world really depends on the answer.